Battle through the firmament. Grand world. Chapter 399. The three of them talked. In the inner academy, Zunna and Kalen's strength had already improved tremendously after not seeing each other for a year. Both of them had reached the Emperor tier. Adding the heavenly weapon in their hands, they were not inferior to any Emperor tier experts on the Soaring Dragon rankings. Su Xiang and the rest suspected that after Xiaoyan disappeared, they did not come and ask Zunna and Kalen. When they saw Xiaoyan suddenly appear, they naturally could not help but complain. Xiaoyan didn't know what to say. He could only let the two girls vent the dissatisfaction on him. The matter of illusory spirit space was of utmost importance. Now wasn't the time to confess to the two girls. When he had enough strength to deal with the other three courtyards, it was not too late to tell them. It had been nearly a year since they last saw each other, so they naturally had to warm up. When they saw that Xiaoyan had advanced to the Monarch Emperor, they felt a sense of warmth. The two girls were both surprised and happy. The improvement of Xiaoyan's strength was even more surprising than the growth of their own strength. When they heard that Xiaoyan had come out of Realm in Valley, Guyuan and Zhu Kun put down the cultivation. They had specially come over to meet Xiaoyan. Both of them had sufficient cultivation resources. Their improvement was also very fast, and their strength was stable and steady. Their foundations were extremely solid, and they had both reached the peak of Monarch spirit. Even a true emperor wouldn't be able to gain any advantages from these two men. He believed that in the inner courtyard competition in a few months' time, there would definitely be a place for these two men on the Soaring Dragon ranking. In the evening, Xiaoyan, Guyuan, and Zhu Kun were sitting on a stone bench. On the stone table was a pot of clear wine. Along with the gentle evening breeze and the sound of a bell ringing in the distance, the three of them raised the glasses and chatted happily. It had been a long time since they had come to this great world, and they hadn't felt so relaxed in such a long time. What do you plan to do after the 4 academies competition ends? Guyuan drank the wine in his glass and looked at the red sun that was slowly sinking into the horizon. He exhaled a breath of fresh air and looked at Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan was stunned when he heard that. He could not help but put down his hand that was holding the wine cup. He thought for a while and said slowly after a long time, maybe. I need to go to Mingyan Divine Domain. Although he had planned to go to Mingyan Divine Domain after the school was done, after Guyuan said so, Xiaoyan immediately thought of Zunna and Kalen. After the 4 academies competition, even if he borrowed the help of the illusory spirit space to cultivate, the two girls might not be able to reach the Monarch Emperor in a short period of time. In that case, he could only wait for the two girls to reach the Monarch Emperor before heading there. As for what he was waiting for, Xiaoyan really hadn't thought about it. After listening to Xiaoyan's words, Guyuan smiled, then looked at Zhu Kun, who had a leisurely expression on his face. I don't care. I can go anywhere. But no matter where I go, I have to improve my strength first. I have to at least reach the Monarch Emperor. Zhu Kun burst into laughter. He glanced at Xiaoyan, intentionally or unintentionally. He couldn't help but feel helpless in his heart. They had arrived at the same time in the great world, but this guy was already a Monarch Emperor. He had just reached the peak of Monarch spirit, and even Zunna and Kalen, those two girls, had become emperors. This had given him a huge shock. You're right, as long as your strength increases, you will be able to take a good look at the big world. Guyuan looked around. Under the sunset, the inner courtyard of Yunlo was extremely beautiful and natural. It made people feel proud and heroic. In fighting Dao Qi continent, although he was in the Gu clan, he was still a disciple of the Gu clan. With his powerful soul power, he could wander the entire fighting Dao Qi continent at any time. Now, he really missed the feeling of being omnipotent. Alright, the stronger you are, the greater the responsibility you will have to shoulder. At that time, even though you are omnipotent, you will still have to be responsible for the entire continent. You will need to monitor the soul race at all times. It's better for you to be at ease now, so you don't have to worry about so many things. As if he had seen through Guyuan's inner thoughts, Zhu Kun drank up the wine in his cup. Ha ha, you're right. Guyuan laughed out loud when he heard this. What Zhu Kun said was in line with his current thoughts. Listening to Guyuan and Zhu Kun's carefree laughter, Xiaoyan could only force a smile on his face. Thinking about it carefully, unknowingly, it seemed like he had touched some of the taboos of the big world, whether it was about nether domain or Gu Wu. He had directly experienced or seen the existence of the blood eye in the illusory spirit space. For a moment, an invisible pressure pressed down on his shoulders. Frowning somewhat agitatedly, Xiaoyan swallowed the wine in his cup in one gulp. He drank until it was so spicy that it reached his throat, and couldn't help but cough. Guyuan looked at Xiaoyan, put down the wine cup in his hand, and let out a long sigh. He looked into the distance, and his gaze seemed to wander. Xiaoyan, I should have told you. Zuna came to your CO family to make it up to you. The second reason was to let Zuna have a carefree childhood. After hearing that Zuna had feelings for you, I was furious and almost came to find you myself. I know what those little fellows in the clan did to you. But, later on, your actions also moved me. At such a young age, you have carried the blood feud of the clan and charged into the Black Corner region by yourself. However, you are only at the Dao Huang class, yet you are able to face the Han clan. I admit that I am inferior to you in terms of courage. It is precisely because of this that you have walked step by step until the end. Guyuan patted Xiaoyan's shoulder as he spoke. He said with a kind expression, at that time, the Hall of Souls is the #1 faction on the continent. You have nothing to fear even if you are alone. Now, you have Zuna and Kalen. And me and Zhu Kun. No matter what you do, we will support you behind your back. So, don't have any misgivings. Show us your heroic spirit in fighting Dao Qi continent. Anyway, we don't have anything to worry about in the great world. At most, we'll just die. At the end of his words, Guyuan couldn't help but laugh. Xiaoyan's heart warmed when he heard this. He quietly nodded and looked at Guyuan's kind smile and softly said, "Thank you, father." After passing by Guyuan, these words had finally relieved the knot in Xiaoyan's heart. The heaviness that had been hidden in his heart had vanished at this moment, and the heroic spirit he had for the future had emerged once again. Ha ha, old Gu is indeed worthy of being the patriarch. His words are so meaningful and admirable. Zhu Kun laughed loudly and patted Xiaoyan's shoulder. He looked at Guyuan with a mocking expression. Xiaoyan also smiled and shook his head helplessly. This guy was really an old kid. Aren't you also the patriarch of the ancient void dragon? If you weren't greedy for ancient monarch Tuoshi's things, why would you be locked outside as a gatekeeper? Guyuan showed no signs of weakness, exposing Zhu Kun's background. You don't mention this kind of thing. When Guyuan mentioned this matter, Zhu Kun blushed and pretended to cough, causing Guyuan to laugh loudly. By the way, Xiaoyan, do you know where that old bastard Tuoshi went? He should have come to the great world as well. Speaking of ancient monarch Tuoshi, Zhu Kun was so angry that his teeth itched. He looked at Xiaoyan and said, "Ancient monarch Tuoshi." Xiaoyan heard this and thought for a while. He shook his head helplessly and said, "I don't know either. I have asked the experts of CO clan. He said that ever since the advancement of the Alchemy Emperor, he had never seen any fighting monarch appear in the fighting Dao Qi continent. But when we came from the fighting monarch's spatial zone, the 9 nether monarchs bug we met also told us. Ancient monarch Tuoshi had escaped. In this way, there's a contradiction. An expert from the CO clan. Medicine Emperor. What are these?" Guyuan and Zhu Kun were stunned when they heard Xiaoyan's words. They asked curiously. Xiaoyan was also stunned for a moment, then his expression changed. He gave Guyuan and Zhu Kun a brief explanation. "Father, you should know that the Yao clan used the fighting monarch formation when the Yao clan was destroyed. The Alchemy Emperor was the last one to arrive in the fighting Dao Qi continent, the fighting monarch. His name was Yao Xuanji, but I don't know where he is now. Medicine Emperor, Yao Xuanji. Zhu Kun and Gu Yuan nodded silently. There were ancient records about this alchemy emperor in their clan. However, they didn't expect that this alchemy emperor would be able to escape 9 Nether Monarchs' bugs pursuit and arrive here. As for the Xiao clan, it's the ancestor of the Xiao family who founded the Xiao clan in fighting Daoqi continent. It's a family in the Great World. Not only that, the ancestor of the Gu clan might also be a member of the Gu clan in the Great World. Furthermore, if I'm not wrong, the ancestor of the ancient Void Dragon in fighting Daoqi continent is an expert of the ancient Dark Flame Dragon race in the Great World. Xiaoyan's expression was solemn as he revealed the news that was undoubtedly like a bolt out of the blue. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.